Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, yes, it is the Let's Play Live Star Insurance Project Cars 2 ANZ Championship. We are live from Auckland Sky City Sky Tower. It is episode 7, so we've got royalty in the studio. I got in trouble for chucking the judicials under the bus, and so Motorsport is in the studio. My name is Brendan White. I am joined by the competition manager, Elton Goonan from Motorsport New Zealand. Elton, welcome.
Thank you, Brendan. Thank you. It's great to be here.
And it's on the eve, I should say, of Supercars. It's one of the biggest weekends of motorsport. Must be pretty exciting to get on TV and promote that.
It is. It's one of those weekends where, it really gets the heart pumping. Pukekohe's, I was out there today. Pukekohe is just buzzing. Simon was there, he'd agree, All the cars are there. The boys from Supercars are wandering around their pits doing their track walk. So it's great to have that weekend.
And it's a Kiwis moving and shaking weekend, isn't it? Supercars, it's an Australian championship. This is the one round, but it's the Kiwis at Pukekohe Motorsport Park.
We are. We've got Scotty there who's on the eve of taking that record win. Shane's not far behind. You got Fabian, you got Andre Heimgartner, you got Richie Stanaway. So you got 5 Kiwis in there, all battling really well. They were all in the top 10 last year. So it's a good weekend for the Kiwis.
Well, we're going to find out all about motorsport in New Zealand, your role as the competition manager and everything that goes on. But we can't forget we've got Simon as well, Velocity. Welcome back, Simon, again. What's happening in your world? It's the same, isn't it? Supercars.
Yeah, pretty much. We're all at Supercars this weekend down at Pukekohe Park. A mega weekend on the cards for us. Tomorrow it's going to be nice weather, hopefully, but it looks like we might get a bit of rain on Saturday and Sunday, a bit like we've seen on Project Cars so far this season. Some awesome support classes as well with the non-championship BNT V8s. We've got Trans Am Challenge, we've got Central Muscle Cars, we've got Formula Ford, and we've got the Sangongs obviously, so it's going to be awesome. So if you've got nothing much to do this weekend, get on down to Pukekohe Park. It'll be an awesome weekend. Right,
well, before we get into Supercars and the race this weekend, the Grand Final 6.5 online, let's check out where this championship's been, who have been the movers and shakers, what's going to happen. Well, first off, it was a battle for Brands Hatch, and it's always been Pluck versus Murphy's Law, Simon.
Yeah, these two have been going hammer and tong all season. We saw it in the Nissan GTR, we saw it in the Aston Martin, in the GT3 cars and the GT4 cars. These boys going at it last week, obviously back to Sonoma Raceway in the IndyCar. We thought this might throw a bit of a spanner into the works, but it was the status quo for these guys.
All right, so then it was Sika wins the race in Dubai. It's the newcomers, Sika and Prinz, the Christchurch guys.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see where these guys sort of land in terms of the championship. Tonight they do have a very slim chance of maybe taking home that grand prize, but I think for them it's very much about getting into that top 8 and making sure they're here for the final next week.
Well, 6 players compete for the bottom 3 spots, and it's the bump week, isn't it? There's a grand final again next week. It's almost 2 grand finals. Monkey Matt and Simon B, the 2 GT international competitors.
Yeah, Elton, obviously we've seen these guys competing in GT Sport overseas. Cool to see some esports competition taking people to cool places like Germany and the United States.
Absolutely, it's great to have the New Zealand talent going out there and battling with the rest of the world.
All right, John Baggs and Sive Crimson, the newcomers, the guys a bit further down. Let's have a look where these guys are sitting on the tournament ladder coming into this in a penultimate grand final almost, but it's still a grand final this week as well. Matthew Bull Pluck, the Christchurch local, followed by Robert Murphy's Law, only 58 points in it. There's 2 sprint races tonight, 100 points on offer for each of those, and the main feature, 200 points. But Sika, that Fox, that Flying Fox from Christchurch, also Simon, he's sitting right there in front of that Australian.
Yeah, that top 3 is who we're really concerned about tonight. There's all sorts of elements to keep an eye on, but it's the top 3 who are the only ones who can really have a chance of winning the big prize tonight. Madzi, Prinz, Simon Bishop, Monkey Matt and John Baggs, they're fighting for the bottom 6 places to secure a spot here at Sky City next weekend, but it's guys like Dave Stone, EVP and S-Wave Crimson who'll be trying to find a way in. The interesting thing, which we haven't really spoken about much, is how the drop round will factor into things like this. We talked about it last week, Matthew Bull Pluck and Murphy's Law way. It's going to sort of change things up in terms of who might shuffle up and who might go down the order as well.
I think we actually do have those results of who's taken the drop round, so this is potentially including the drop round, but what we talk about, Dave Stone, EVP, Sive Crimson, all those guys, they have to deliver because only 8 go through to compete for the Bathurst Dogfight next week, live out of the LPL studios. So what are they playing for? Well, it is $6,500 AUD because this is an ANZ Championship 2,500 for first. Elton, it's pretty cool to see those numbers on the screen for esports and to get into motorsport overall.
Absolutely, it's very, very unique, and so it's great to see that happening, and it's a good incentive, which is good. It makes the guys actually take interest, and it's a good stepping stone.
Right, and you can see further down the field of the land, that's next week, round 8, so the top 8 get to come into the studio and they actually get to fight at Bathurst, because we always do Bathurst for the Project Cars Grand Final, but tonight's its Grand Final in itself. 8 guys, it's done. Tonight is the delivery. Predictions, Simon, for this week. Obviously, if you guys at home are playing it safe and you're tuning in on Twitch or at Sky TV, your money's on Robert Northway and Matthew Bull Pluck, so that's the championship fight. Who's going to win?
Yeah, see, Matthew Pluck's done a really good job all season. He's sort of been in that top 3. I think only once or twice has he actually been outside of the podium places. I think Robert Northway probably has something special in him tonight. I'm interested to see how these guys handle it. You know, we're in a car that we're not really familiar with. One with the drivers probably aren't going to be used to, because it's a pretty out of the ordinary car in the grand scheme of things, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But you know, these top 2 I think are the ones who you're really going to watch for. You know, further down the field, I don't think we're going to have to worry too much.
Well, look, we can't discount obviously that we've got an Australian and a Christchurch local dogfighting out for 3rd and 4th, that final podium spot. So, you know, Sika and Kyle Madzi met the Australian. You've got to watch out for him tonight, because he does have those brilliant moments that can just come out and pop.
Yeah, for sure. And Elton, you know, as well as anyone, you know, in motorsport, when it comes down to the pressure points, we saw it with Scott McLaughlin against Craig Lowndes and Jamie Whincup a couple of years ago. It only takes one bad result to ruin your entire championship, one bad weekend, I suppose.
Exactly, it only takes one bad corner, and we saw that many times as well. So it is that when that pressure comes down, it's the best come out of people, and sometimes, you know, its experience comes through.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, we know where we've been. Let's have a look at the location list, where we've been this championship and where we're going tonight. So, in the location list, week 1 was Germany. We then went to the United Kingdom, Japan, the United Arab Emirates, New Zealand. You see a familiarity on the right-hand side of the screen there. The USA, and tonight it is Italy. Simon, where are we going in Italy tonight?
Well, it's 3 apiece for the top 2 drivers so far this season, but we are heading to the Big Boot Autodrome Nazionale Monza, the Grand Prix circuit. Familiar for some, obviously, the Italian Grand Prix taking place last weekend. We saw Charles Leclerc winning that one, and then Autodrome Internazionale. Enzo Dino Ferrari, Imola. The Italians really love it when you give it a go and say the names properly. We had the Ferrari Challenge here last year at Hampton Downs. They really emphasised the Ferrari in terms of how you say it, and it's cool to go to 2 circuits that have got a lot of motorsport history, isn't it?
It is, it's great, and I mean, Monza's just one of those iconic circuits that if you know anything about anything to do with motorsport, Monza is up there. It's like Bathurst, so it's great to see that happening. Imola, it's got a lot of history, some of it good, some of it bad, but it's an awesome circuit to drive, and it's an awesome circuit to see there on the calendar for the night.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, let's have a look at this unique car. It's an interesting one for us. It is, Simon, the Toyota GT86 Rocket Bunny GT4.
Yeah, it's got GT4 in the name, but not really a GT4 in the grand scheme of things, just sort of around that speed. 277 k's an hour, going from 0 to 100 in 4.9 seconds, maxing out at 365 horsepower. It weighs a little over a ton, and I'm expecting some interesting battling tonight. We've already had an opportunity to see some GT4 racing this season. We saw it with the Aston Martin, and that surely showed us what we're gonna, I guess, anticipate tonight. Even last season with the Ginetta, that was often entertaining. So it's actually seems to be more often than not, it's the slower cars that give us the more excitement, because these guys can really push the limits.
We have in New Zealand a fantastic 86 series as well, Elton, and which is going to come up in the summer series, and people can get involved in that. It's a great stepping stone to get into motorsport. It is.
It's a good step for the kids as they come out of go-karts, if they wanted to go down the tin top route, you know, head towards supercars. The 286 series, it's a really good starting thing. It's tight, controlled, low cost.
Low cost. Well, there you go, motorsport, low cost. Well, if you want to go to the other extreme and actually drive your own supercar, well, driven.co.nz is hooking it up this week. All you've got to do is get on their website and you can actually drive your own Huracan. Very simple. Watch out for the special word Hampton Downs is going to be hooking it up. All you've got to do, driven.co.nz, watch for the code. You can actually win a night as well for you and 2 other people at Sky City, which is pretty cool. So you come up to Sky City, you stay the night, then you go down to Hampton. Hampton, you know all about Hampton Downs, Elton?
I do, yeah. After spending 3 years there running the track, it's a good little track. The Hurricane, it's a good experience.
And you've driven the Hurricane around here?
Yep, I've driven the Hurricane. So yeah, for the prize, you get the night in Sky City, head to Hampton, jump in the passenger seat, have a ride.
Right. They actually get a drive too, apparently, I've heard.
Oh.
Well, yes. I wouldn't want to be that, but track conditions, yes. So, track conditions is all important when you're driving a Hurricane around Hampton Downs. Let's find out about the track conditions tonight, Simon.
Yeah, it's certainly a scorcher here tonight at Monza GP. 36 degrees ambient temperature, 55 degrees on track. So that asphalt will be certainly grippy tonight. Just 3 km/h gust nor'westerlies as we head down the front straight there, but it is clear blue skies. We've seen overcast conditions turn to rain, but I'm not sure we're going to see that in race 1 tonight. It is an 8-lap sprint around here. 100 points on offer for the race winner. And we'll have a look at the qualifying results in 1 moment. So here they are. You can see there Kyle Madden doing the business here in qualifying, 4 tenths clear of Matthew Bull Pluck. That's a good result there for the Aussie. Ahead of the 2 Kiwi dudes, Matthew Pluck, Robert Northway down in 2nd and 3rd, Seeker down in 4th. Your top 4 there, I guess, sort of the status quo in many ways. Damien Knoxide Main doing a good result for him. P5, Monkey Matt down in P6, Prenz, Fade, Alistair, Dave Stone Kuipers, and EVP down in 11th. We look down the order now. Daniel Pinkham is in 11th, John Baggs 12th, Dave Alki Roberts in 13th, Info Agent, and SYF Crimson rounding out the order. Obviously, Simon Bishop absent from the results, potentially missing this one due to issues. So we go to the grid now here at Monza, home of the Tifosi. A little bit quiet tonight. I think they've all left after the Italian Grand Prix last week. That was an absolute barn burner between the Ferraris and the Mercedes. Hopefully we'll see some awesome racing tonight here in these GT4 spec Toyota Supras.
Well, we go through the field here. The Australians, they've really delivered, haven't they? Kyle Madden on pole, but also Damien Main in 5th position, a bit further back. So we go racing straight away here. It's the sprint race. Simon, take it away.
Good start there from the inside. Matthew Bull Pluck gets a good jump, and it looks like he's going to take the whole shot into turn 1. It's a very long run down to the first corner, so a good opportunity here to make some overtaking moves. We'll have to see who can get the jump. Looks like Pluck has done a good job. He's got through there cleanly. We look further behind though. Is there any drama? Not too much to speak of at the moment. Managing to get through there fairly cleanly. We saw all sorts of drama in the Italian Grand Prix last weekend. Max Verstappen losing his front wing. But it looks like so far so good through the first few corners. Matthew Bull Pluck leading Kyle Madden, championship leader, getting one up on Robert Northway as it stands at the moment. Northway sitting down there in P3. These cars certainly tough to drive from what we experienced before coming on air. Brendan, you were struggling to even complete a lap of Imola. What was it like?
Sketchy, very loose. You know, we've got a GT86 drift car for D1NZ, and you can pedal that around all day. It loves it. These, in real life, are very quick, nimble cars. They're easy to control. In this game, they're the opposite of that. They're loose. They're all over the place. But then again, I'm not a pro driver like Matthew Bull Pluck out on the lead at the moment. Now, this is all important for Kyle Madden to really maintain in the top 3 here. He's currently sitting 558 points in the championship. So if he gets those 2 sprint races and he gets the feature race, he could be potentially in 2nd position for the overall championship and pick up a good bit of coin coming out of the end of tonight.
Yeah, well, we've seen all sorts of drama, unfortunately, this season and last season from our man Robert Northway. Northway currently sitting there in P3. We're watching at the moment in the Momo colours. Has unfortunately been prone to mistakes, and I think ultimately that sort of cost him a chance last season. But so far this season he's been relatively mistake-free in the grand scheme of things. I think Matthew Bull Pluck has just been infallible from the start. But yeah, hopefully Robert Northway won't be listening to anything you've just said, because Kyle Madden is currently on a bit of a tear at the moment, just trying to catch up to Matthew Bull Pluck, and that slipstream down the front straight certainly has narrowed up the margin.
All right, well, as I guess they get into their groove, Elton, Esports and Motorsport New Zealand, you guys have actually, you do an elite Academy. What is that? It's something that develops the younger ones, doesn't it?
It is. It's designed to, you know, there's a selection process. So the guys, we put applications out, and the drivers are nominated either by their friends or their family or their clubs or their series. And there's 8 kids are selected, and it's from all sorts of disciplines. We've had drifting, we've had rallying, we've had circuit stuff, we've had co-drivers. Yet to have anything from the esport realm, but it's something that's on the target.
Now, in that though, a part of they go down to Dunedin, is it? And they do all sorts. They do training, they do gym, gym work, all sorts.
Yep. So they focus on not so much the physical skills, but it's what we call the soft skills. So learning how to handle pressure, how to sort their fitness out, understanding nutrition, how to do sponsorship presentations, how to actually handle with the press, how to handle with TV and media interviews.
Right. And they also do a bit of sim racing.
They do a little bit of sim racing, but they do it in the context of actually putting themselves under pressure.
Talking about pressure right now, Robert Northway did he just get the pass, Simon?
Yeah,
on
Madden. Yeah, he's just dropped behind Robert Northway there. Madden got really loose out of the Ascari chicane. I'm not sure if there was any contact involved in that. The cars look all right at the moment, but all the while that's been happening, that's allowed Pluck to just edge out to a second. Madden, you can see now tucking under that rear wing of Northway. He'll try and get the slipstream down this really long front straight and try and do a big dive bomb down into turn 1. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. These cars obviously not too aero sensitive, so not a heck of a lot of the draft working out at the moment. He ducks out, can't quite make a move down into the first chicane here.
Well, it's not a big car, sorry, Elton. So you do a bit of sim racing there as well, and that's a part of Motorsport New Zealand's academy.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So what we do is we put them in a heat chamber, and so we actually simulate them being under pressure.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's quite intense. It's sort of up to about 80% humidity. Right. So it's quite an intense test, and body temperatures, blood pressure, all of that sort of brain activity is measured, recorded, and seeing how they actually handle it, and gives us a benchmark. And then over the following year, they're able to get assistance on the areas that they're weak on.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, because we saw it was at David Reynolds last year at Supercars.
Yes.
Inside those cabins, it must be so hot, and the exhaustion that it would cause on your body over the time. So, pretty interesting. So you focus on all sorts of different elements, but that's cool how you pick up some of their weaknesses so they can actually develop that through their career.
Yeah, exactly. And it's picking up those weaknesses and working on them helps them develop. And I mean, like you're saying, in those supercars you get temperatures. So I mean, I've been in the car, we've been racing, and I've actually had the soles of my boots melt off. So it does get to extreme temperatures in there. And I know, talking to guys and talking to Murph on the occasion, he's had it many a time in the supercar, where the sides of his boots have started melting. Andre Heimgartner last year at the National Enduro Finals actually had to get out, when he got out of his car, when he did his interview, he had his foot in a bucket of water to cool his foot down.
Wow. Well, if you're a young'un and you're tuning in on Sky TV, there's a way that you get into your local car club. They're all over New Zealand, motorsport.org.nz, and you can actually get them to, submit them to get into the Motorsport Academy, the Elite Academy.
Yep. So get in there, get involved, start getting behind the wheel, show the passion, get the club behind you, and then they'll put your nomination forward, and it works from there. And we've got a lot of great guys who are involved in it, who do the selection, who do the training. The Otago University supply all the supports, staff from their sports science classes.
Wow.
So it's
a big thing to be invited to that Elite Academy, isn't it?
It is an absolute massive thing.
It's an honour. And some of the people that we've seen go through that?
Brendan Hartley has been involved, Mitch Evans, Simon Evans, Nick Cassidy, just to name a few.
Yeah, Marcus Armstrong as well. He's currently racing in Formula 3 over in Europe at the moment. It's actually fascinating seeing how those drivers come out the other side in terms of their personality and their persona. You can certainly tell that the media training works a lot, because you talk to young guys, especially the ones who have just recently come out, Caleb Natai, Callum Crawley, Ronan Murphy even. They're just so much more better prepared to talk to guys like me who might ask them a hard question, like even talking to Ronan Murphy today, the way he talks, sometimes it feels like you're talking to Greg.
Yeah, and it's good because these guys are actually starting to understand that you're not the enemy, you're not there to catch them out.
Totally.
You're actually there to help them, and you're just portraying that story out to the rest of the world, so the rest of the world can understand what's happened and how they enjoy it.
For sure.
Well, we check back in on the race here. We are halfway through the sprint race of round 7. It is $6,500 on the line. 8 of these guys after 7 weeks. Some of these guys have been spending 20 to 30 hours training on their sims for these races. It's all about pluck right now. He's only 0.6 of a second ahead of Northway, the 2 Christchurch locals. You can see them there on your screen. The Australian, 2 seconds, now 3 seconds behind Kyle Madsey. Now, if you're wondering what these names are, they're actually gamers' names. So Dave Stone, it's actually Alistair Kuipers, as we see on the screen, but Dave Stone's his gamer name for those tuning on Sky TV, as he goes really wide, not really taking the apex that he wants to there. And the Christchurch local seeker, he did say if he made the top 8, and it looks very likely, Dave Stone now coming down on the inside, that he would actually come up in a fox suit and race in a fox suit.
Well, he's just about guaranteed. Right? I'm pretty sure they've already bought the flight, so I don't know if he takes that as carry-on or if he wears the suit onto the plane. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Dave Stone getting a good move done on John Baggs.
He got a little bit deep on the brakes though there.
Yeah, did a good job though to get it done. Interesting to note on that last lap, Robert Northway got the margin stable at about 7/10, but he hasn't quite been able to bring it down over the last 2 laps or so. It's sort of hovering around that 0.6 of a second margin. Gets in the slipstream on the front straight. He can sort of close it, but when it comes to braking, just doesn't quite have the ability to really hunt him down. So there are only a handful of laps remaining here at Monza, and I'm thinking Northway might catch pluck if he can maybe find a little bit of a chink in the armour.
Yeah, those lead 2 actually look a lot better under braking as they go, particularly at the end of the main straight. They're just maybe 2 or 3 car lengths deeper on the brakes, which has given them that a little bit of extra advantage.
And obviously these cars, I suppose until you're getting really close to the back of them, they don't seem to be too aero sensitive. You talk about Mini Coopers and things that punch a really big hole in the air. These things obviously not doing a heck of a lot in terms of the aero because I guess the slipstream that we've talked about in previous rounds isn't really being used so much today.
Look, the Rocket Bunny kit as well naturally isn't in a downforcing aero kit.
It's just aesthetics, isn't it?
It's not a time attack style kit. So yeah, it is exactly
it's a pretty kit.
Now we are looking, we're basically chopping and changing right now between the leaders, but then between Dave Stone, John Baggs and Sive Crimson. The reason we're doing that are those are the guys that are on that bump. They're the ones that really have to deliver through these races because they are the ones that can get through with the likes of Monkey, Matt, the EVP. So those are the ones we're watching at the moment. They need to really deliver. They're still sitting in the same place that they normally sit though, as we got on board with Murphy's Law. Bit of a gap out there, 1 second now, so 3 seconds between him and first. So I think we've got where the mojo is going to sit for this race on it.
Yeah, unfortunately, Robert Northway just getting a little bit too deep there into turn 1, overcooked it a little bit into the first chicane, and he gets a little bit loose off the curbs there that time, so that brings that margin out to 1.2 seconds now. So unfortunately, with maybe 2.5 laps to go, he's maybe thrown away an opportunity to catch Matthew Pluck unless this fellow Christchurchian makes a mistake. Cantabrian, that's the one, isn't it? I think Christchurchian sounds better. Here we go, Prenz battling for further down the order. We see one go wide, one onto the AstroTurf.
It'll be Dave Stone, Alistair Kuipers and John Baggs right now in a bit of a battle going on. These are the guys we were just talking about. The 86 naturally always, it's a very wants to step sideways, switchy little car. How do you find the setup in the 86 series through New Zealand? Is it the same sort of in drift cars? They just naturally go sideways?
No, within the New Zealand series, the cars are actually over-tired, so we've actually got good tyres on them. So the guys actually learn to carry the speed through the corner. Take those tyres off and put what we call a dot tyre on it, and yeah, the cars naturally the back end wants to go.
Oh no, bit of a shunt there. Looks like one of the cars has spun out. John Baggs spinning in front of Prenz. And Alistair Kuipers, sorry to interrupt there, Alton, but bit of drama there for John Baggs. He's parked it through the Ascari chicane.
Yeah, it looks like he lost it on the entry into the Ascari there. Possibly hit the curb on the apex a little bit too high.
Bit like old Sebastian Vettel on the weekend, eh?
Yeah, looks like he's got out of it a little bit better than Sebastian, though.
Lots of drama on the weekend. We saw, obviously, Charles Leclerc getting his first win, or second win, I should say, after winning at the Spa Grand Prix there. Vettel having a big spin early in the race, and a bit of an unsafe re-entry. I think we've seen some better driving in this series compared to what Vettel did on the weekend down at the Australasia chicane, parked it and then decided, you know what, I'm going to send it straight back onto the racing line, and collected Lance Stroll in the process. So that's the sort of thing that Ricky from Motorsport New Zealand would be probably pinging drivers for, maybe giving them a 50-point penalty.
Now, when we say Ricky from Motorsport New Zealand, we need to be careful here because Elton is actually from Motorsport New Zealand.
Honorary member.
Honorary. He's our judicial, sitting in race control, aka the production studio right now, for those tuning in.
Have you got a vacancy going at the moment? We can get Ricky in.
We're always looking for some judicial stewards, definitely.
One race, it was like, he didn't even really punch someone off the track, and he was just like, 50 points. Was it 50 or 20?
It was a pretty bad penalty, but you know, the drivers can fight it if they really want to, but I don't think it had too many major championship implications, fortunately.
All right, and Dave Stone out on track at the moment. That's who we're watching, sitting in 9th position with Preens in front of him. Unfortunately for John Baggs, he was sitting in 10th position, and that could potentially spell him out of the top 8. We will find out after this race where they all sit. We go back up the front now. Pretty sparse. And in a normal race, you'd be what would you be looking at trying to do here? It's just consistency, isn't it, Simon?
Well, it's interesting. We saw on the weekend in the FIA Formula 3 Championship race, obviously a lot longer than this one, 21 laps I think it was, really having to conserve their tyres, despite the fact that the circuit is mostly made up of straights. I wonder whether Northway maybe cooked his tyres a little bit too much, got a little bit too much heat into them early on. We saw a lot of mistakes down at turn 1, just going way too wide, way too deep, maybe just a little bit too ambitious on the braking. And unfortunately, that's cost him the best part of a second and a half now, and he's dropped back.
The big issue with Monza as well is because you're coming out of these tight chicanes, your natural instinct is to get on the gas as quickly as you can, so it's quite easy to overheat those rears. And then all of a sudden you're not getting that traction down and you're losing a couple of tenths every time you come out of the chicane. And you know, even if you are a length or two later on the brakes at the other end, you still can't make that difference up.
For sure. In this car, you know, GT4 cars generally have ABS, but unfortunately it looks like this one doesn't. So they'll be certainly having to use that left pedal a little bit more delicately than they would in, say, a GT3 car.
Lap 8 of 8. Here we go. So it's Pluck, Northway, Madzi and Sika. Not a big surprise there. It's actually the only person that's sitting out of order as far as the championship goes right now is Sika. Sika sitting in 3rd position in the championship. So the Australian doing what he needs to do at the moment to try to make that top 3 of the final championship tonight and get those crucial dollars. It's all in AUD as well. Matthew Bullpluck on screen right now. Now this guy has run a clinic the whole season. He's come out of nowhere. Robert Northway is obviously a bit of a veteran with Project Cars, so we expected some good things of him. Uncharacteristic mistakes, but Matthew Bullpluck.
Yeah, Pluck certainly has been the dominant force this season, and he's about to extend his championship lead over Robert Northway by just a fraction. Northway will have to hope for a bit of a miracle in these last 2 races tonight if he wants to take out the title, but Matthew Pluck has just stepped that a little bit closer towards the championship tonight with race 1 victory here at Monza ahead of Robert Northway. Northway comes home 2.3 seconds adrift, and Kyle Madden across the line in a distant 3rd place. So the margin's not too close in this affair. We're hoping for a little bit more drama, but the slipstream obviously not working to great effect here. You see, if you want to win that Lamborghini Huracan ride, there's your code down the bottom right-hand corner. Get on it.
Malta.
Certainly faster than these 286s, I can tell you that. Seeker down there in P4 and Monkey Matt in P5. We wait now for the last few cars to cross the line. We will have a result for you in a moment. So certainly not a barn burner, Elton, but I wonder whether we maybe get a bit of rain in the next one. They might mix things up, a bit of craziness in the last one too. We saw the tyre strategy certainly played a role in that last race last weekend.
Compulsory pit stop, wasn't it, as well?
No, it wasn't even compulsory. The guys just did it on their own accord because the tyres were just fading so hard.
Well, the only change out of qualifying in race 1, so Pluck actually took about pole position for qualifying, and it was Kyle Madsen in 2nd position for qualifying. So there's only Robert Northway and Madzi that actually switched around. Besides that, the race finish was pretty much exactly as qualifying ran. So very consistent here. Do we know if there's rain tonight, Simon?
We'll have to wait and see. It's certainly pretty shiny and sunny on Monza at the moment.
Oh, so
sudden thunderstorms on the way, though, apparently.
that rain's rolling in from the Alps then,
You can see the clouds are forming in the sky tonight, but Matthew Bullpluck is the man to beat. He takes out race 1 here tonight at Monza. Robert Northway comes home P2 with Kyle Madden. In P3, via Seeker, Monkey Matt completing the top 5. Damien Knoxide Main, Fade, Prinz, Alistair Kuipers, and John Baggs round out the top 10 positions. S-Wave, Crimson, Info, Agent, and Daniel Pinkham. Through to 13th with Dave Alki Roberts, a very distant 14th. Unfortunately, 2 cars unable to complete that race. So, not a crazy race by any means, but I think with that sudden thunderstorm on the way, we might see a bit of chaos coming.
Yeah, it was nothing for Elton to get too excited about just yet, ladies and gentlemen, but it will get exciting because after the break we do have rain, thunderstorms and the sprint race with 16 races across Australia and New Zealand competing for the top 8 for next week at Bathurst, and $6,500 on the line for tonight. If you're tuning in, don't go anywhere, get yourself a drink, we'll be back after the break. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Project Cars 2 ANZ Championship, but right now it's Ola, LPL AU, LPL NZ. Yep, the first ride's on them, thanks to us. Elton, you ever taken an Ola?
No, I haven't actually.
No?
You were supposed to say yes,
Yeah,
how good it was.
Yeah. I've taken
Yes, great. Absolutely awesome.
Yes, we should get Ola down at Hampton Downs or Pukekohe Park Raceway and have some time trials.
Test the Ola drivers.
That would be an interesting challenge, definitely.
Yeah. Just download the app, ladies and gentlemen, and you can get the first ride on you. My name is Brendan White. We are joined by Elton Goonan from Motorsport New Zealand. If you're just tuning in, welcome. And of course, our brains, or semi-brains tonight. Elton kind of trumps that. Simon Chapman from Velocity News. It's the Supercar Eve. That's right, Pukekohe Motorsport Park this weekend. So we've got Elton in studio to tell us all about that. Race 1. Well, yeah, do we even want to talk about it? Yeah, let's look at it. Let's have a look at some of the highlights, some of the results, and let's have a look at the tournament championship ladder, see where everything sits right now, because it is the championship final penultimate night. Matthew Bullpluck now on 1,985 points. That margin between him and Northway Simon still just sitting the same.
Yep, and that pretty much takes Seeker out of the competition in terms of trying to get first or second now. Only 300 more points to play with. So it is firmly just between Matthew Bullpluck and Robert Murphy's Law Northway for first and second. We wait to see how John Baggs and Dave Stone sort of come out in the wash, because look at that, there's only 2 points between them and getting into the final. So we'll have to keep a good eye on John Baggs, Dave Stone, and even S-Wave Crimson, who might throw a bit of a spanner in the works.
Yeah, well, the big one here is Madsy. He's actually jumped up 100 points, so he's still looking for that championship point and to drop Seeker off. But yeah, like you say, 9th, 10th, 11th, those people there, and also 7th and 8th. This race is crucial for these guys. So that is your tournament ladder after race 1, after the sprint race. Race 2, well, it's a sprint lap, ladies and gentlemen. There's only 7 laps in this one, and apparently there is rain.
Yeah, well, we had
when we see
thunderstorms.
rain, we see some fun racing.
Thunderstorms at Monza on Friday, last week for the Italian Grand Prix, and then it was sunny for Sunday. We got the reverse now. Race 1 was dry, race 2 is going to be wet, so sudden thunderstorms coming to Monza for the race tonight. 25 degrees, certainly colder this time round. 27 degrees on track might make things a little bit easier for the tyres. Wonder what tyres these guys are running on, whether on a full slick or an intermediate or maybe a dot radial tyre. We'll have to see how the race plays out, but here it is. This is qualifying. There is only a minute left here in qualifying. We're currently watching Kyle THR Madziau Madden. EVP is the only driver to complete a lap at the moment with a 2:11.627 to his name. Interesting to see how these drivers handle qualifying, whether or not you try and use the slipstream. We certainly saw it in Formula 1 and Formula 2 and Formula 3 over the weekend. It made things really spicy. We saw all sorts of penalties. We saw one of the sessions actually cancelled towards the end there because of just how bunched up it was getting. But we have only got 15 drivers here at the moment. Simon Bishop obviously unable to make it tonight. Whether these guys try and utilise the slipstream, I don't know. Whether they just try and go out on their own, we have to wait and see. But it is Madsy who leads the way now on a 2:02.922. A few more cars to cross the line. Matthew Pluck, he goes straight to the top on a 2-minute flat, 0.809. So that's a great lap for him. He's going to call it a day already. Northway is a second adrift. Not sure whether he's going to go for another lap. Looks like he might just put one more under his belt. 1.2 seconds already between Pluck and Northway in these tricky conditions.
Now, explain to the viewers at home, one flying lap is pretty much all they got for qualifying, wasn't it?
Yeah, well,
That's
it's only a 5-minute session. These guys are leaving it till the last minute, I guess, literally, to set their lap. So Pluck has done one and done. So he's come out, come in.
Well, yeah, you've got 5-minute session and you've got 2 minutes to get out and get the start of the lap done. And then you've got another 2 minutes to get your lap done, and then you're around and checkered flag. So possibly you're going to get two flying laps out of it if you're lucky.
So Northway's pushing on here. He's pressing on because he's only 1.2 seconds behind. There are a few more drivers that have come into the pit lane. Seeker is one of them, Damien Main is another, F5 Crimson and Daniel Pinkham further down the order. We'll wait and see what Robert Northway does on this flying lap. Only able to get 2 to his name. Unfortunately, we don't have sector splits to give you an idea of where he's sitting, but the car looks reasonably under control at the moment, despite using a little bit of that sawtooth curb.
Yeah, he's using it on the side that's not loaded, so it's helping. It's not affecting the car too much.
So in a moment, we'll see a few more lap times being set. You can see a trio of cars ahead of him as they were heading into the Parabolica. This is Robert Northway, who we're following, taking a very narrow line, but we switched to John Baggs for some reason. I won't get to see the end of that Northway lap. Unfortunately, we wait and see what he does. Still a 202.0, so maybe unable to improve on that last lap. So you can see the order at the moment is Pluck ahead of Northway, Seeker, Madden and Main. Monkey Matt is down there in P6. The margin's really blowing out in these tricky conditions, maybe just getting a little bit heavier as the session wears on.
Now, Elton, you talk about loading and the curbs. Pukekohe, supercars. Yep. Some of the photos that come out of those cars coming into Castro Corner, off the sweeper, absolutely amazing.
They are, and you get those traditional shots where you've got half the car over the curb and jumping up. It's great.
Matthew Bullpluck, there you go, takes it out again. First position, pole position for number 2 of the sprint race. Robert Murphy's Law, Northway. No surprise there really in the lineup. Seeker in third position I should say, and the Australian. So very much a repeat besides the Australian Kyle Madzi Madden, who was up a bit further in pole qualifying in race 1, Simon.
Here we can see that the top 5 completed by Damien Knoxide Main, with Monkey Matt, Fade, Prinz, Alistair Kuipers and EVP down in 10th at the moment. Robert Northway has a big red mark next to his name, so maybe his internet connection not too good tonight. S5 Crimson down on 11th, Info Agent Daniel Pinkham and Dave Roberts going 10th through to 14th. EVP down there in the top 10. We look now to the grid. It is Matthew Bullpluck on pole position. Robert Northway really needs to get a good start and hope that there's some drama here for Pluck if he wants to get a leg up in this championship. We are only moments away from the race start of race 2 here at Monza. It's certainly slippery, it's wet, and that'll certainly make things interesting for this race.
Well, $2,500 on the line. Is it going to be Robert Northway or is it going to be Pluck? There's a big difference. Second position, it's $1,000 less. Driven.co.nz. There's your code. Motor is the code. You just get in there. And me and Simon might have jinxed it. Hampton Downs now have to give you a drive of a Hurricane. But before that, look at the start, Simon.
That's crazy. It looks like Northway's had a horrible start. There's drama behind. Cars shunting on the way down to the first chicane. Northway looking to recover at the moment. He dropped down to P4 there briefly. We were hoping that we might see a little bit of drama in this race, and certainly we have already. Northway doing a really good job there to get back up into P2 despite a slow start. Kyle Madden and Seeker really put the pressure on Northway initially, but Northway looks like he's managed to recover. He's putting the pressure on Pluck instead now. So we're going to head down to the second of the chicanes. Variante del Refilio. Pluck just a few car lengths ahead of Northway. This is probably the closest we've ever seen them all weekend. Oh, looks like Pluck may be getting a little bit awkward out of there, and this is going to open the door for Northway to get down the inside at Lesmo 1. Can he make it stick? We saw all sorts of drama with Alexander Albon and Carlos Sainz here over the weekend, but the two of them managed to get through the first Lesmo without too much drama. Into the second they go, and it is Northway now who leads. Good turnaround from him, all things considered. He was 4th at the very start of this race after a really slow getaway, but he's managed to get the lead down at Lesmo Curve. Pluck now down to P2 with Kyle Madden in P3. It's a good recovery for him. Seeker is now down into P4. So a good start there from Robert Northway in the Momo car, but I don't think it'll be long before Pluck is putting the pressure back on his fellow Cantabrian.
Well, Tim, if you were, I guess, Dave Stone or any one of these drivers, because you've done racing yourself throughout the globe, hang on. We see Pluck here now having a look down the inside.
Yeah.
Oh, big move here from Pluck. You can go side by side down here, but in the wet can make things a little bit tricky. Pluck going super narrow while Northway uses a super wide line. Who's going to get the better run off the corner? They're going to go side by side down the front straight. Northway looking to tuck back under the rear wing as they head down to the first chicane. It is Pluck who's got the lead back at the end of lap 1. Will Northway try and send it down the inside into the first turn? We won't see. Can he get it done around the outside? You can position yourself on the outside, which gives you the inside for turn 2. Oh, Pluck using a lot of curve. These guys are playing it pretty safe. Some great driving from the pair of them to give each other enough racing room early on here. But this is bringing Kyle Madden back into the factor as well. Pluck now leading ahead of Northway. Northway dives out, goes around the outside here.
He's going to have the inside run into the chicane here.
Yeah, but we'll see. Will Pluck hold out there? Oh, wow. Northway getting really loose there for a moment, but he manages to get the play straight back. Now Kyle Madden is going to try and put pressure on Pluck. Can he take advantage of this battle here?
Yeah, Pluck almost looked like he had a weeny bit of a lock-up or just a bobble coming into the chicane, and that allowed Kyle Madden just to close that gap up even more, and Northway to just extend the gap up. Look at Pluck is such a calculated textbook driver. He's so consistent, straight back up on Northway now. What a battle in the second race, and now he has a look down on the inside of Northway.
Here they come into the Ascari chicane. Who's going to get the lead? Side by side once more they go. There's some great racing here. Northway looks like he's holding out at the moment, but that might compromise him for a corner exit here. He gets a little bit loose there on corner exit. Kyle Madden is just watching on at the moment in third to see how this all unfolds ahead of him. Here we go on board here with Matthew Pluck. He's going to dive to the left because Northway dives right.
Trying to hold that inside line clear, but...
Yeah, the really shallow line, the inside line working for Northway at the moment. Pluck can't quite hold it around the outside. Northway perhaps just watching what Pluck did on that last lap with the inside line, being able to get the lead away from him. But now this opens up an opportunity for Pluck to get the slipstream down into the chicane. This is some great racing. A certain contrast, I guess you could say, compared to race 1. Perhaps the hotter conditions not really working for these 86ers. Certainly a little bit cooler in the rain here. Looks like maybe Pluck just a little bit better under braking there. Oh, goes maybe a little bit too deep. Commentator's curse put on him there for a moment. Pluck just going a little bit too deep. But again, for another lap, these two going side by side through the first chicane, doing a great job to give each other enough racing room. All the while that's happening, Kyle Madden is sitting there in P3, and Seeker and Monkey Matt are battling for the minor places down on 4th and 5th.
Like Madden's just playing it really safe. Just these guys, if they keep battling like this, if he just be's consistent and he just sits back there, they could force a mistake on each other, and then he could. This is a crucial championship points for him. He's jumped up 100 points in the last race. If he can get that again, that's it. We've looked further down the field now. Scythe Crimson. Look at these guys that are on the bubble at the moment.
Oh, bad exit there for John Baggs. I think that was potentially. Sorry, that was EVP who made a mistake there. So Scythe Crimson cracks the top 10. Hopefully we can go back for that battle to the front in a moment with Northway, Pluck and Madden. You can see now Pluck just showing the nose down into the Ascari chicane. He can't make a move be completed there. Saw all sorts of drama in the Formula 2 and the Formula 3 racing over the weekend. Curbs playing a big role in it. In terms of safety these days, we've seen some pretty horror shunts recently. Unfortunately, the untimely death of Antoine Hubert catching a lot of people off guard. We talk about the safety of race cars, and sim racing, I guess, gives you an opportunity to remove some of that danger element. But in terms of car development, even over the last 10 years, we've seen some new cars come in. How safe are these cars these days?
They are extremely safe. You know, you're always going to get your one-off incidents like Antoine's crash at Spa a fortnight ago. That was a freak combination, but I think what did highlight out of that accident, and with Formula Racing at the moment, they've got the Halo, which is the latest and greatest, and it actually proved that there was 3 drivers that if it hadn't had the Halos, they would have actually had a bit of debris hit the helmets at Spa. So although we have come out with an unfortunate result, there has been some positives that have come out of that crash. And so safety is a key, and it's a big thing that we're working on all the time with the FIA and the competitors and the classes.
And I suppose as well that there is only so much the human body can take, and an impact like that, you know, the amount of G's that the body can go through. We've seen some pretty horrific crashes, and the amount of forces that the drivers can sustain can only be so much.
Yeah, it is. It's good. I mean, and you know, what we're seeing on the screens tonight is that these guys are actually racing closely, and they're getting a little bit sideways as well, which is always a good.
What's that saying, Simon?
Right out sideways.
You wanted to say it. You didn't say how you wanted.
I reckon I'll get another one in tonight in these wet conditions, but certainly
You're saving it for next week, aren't you?
These boys putting on an absolute show tonight. Race 1 was a little bit tame. Race 2, the rain is really coming down now. The heavens have opened. The Tifosi have gone home, but they're missing a great race at the moment. It is Northway who leads Pluck with Madden down there in P3 just watching on. He got really close there for a moment after Pluck made that little bit of a mistake. We're watching Monkey Matt now putting some pressure on Seeker, S5 Crimson. Some crucial positions still to be decided in this championship. Remembering, is it first through to 8th get a payout, or back to the lead now? Robert Northway under pressure from Pluck. Pluck goes down the inside into the Parabolica. Great move there to take back the lead momentarily, but can Northway get a good exit out of the final corner?
We're going to have a good drag down that main straight, aren't we, looking at these two?
Man, these two boys are going to be side drafting in a moment. Who's going to do the slide job though? It is Northway who leads by the smallest of margins as they come across the line. Another lap completed here at Monza. Just 2, maybe 3 more laps to go. Oh, can they make it through without too much drama? Again, really late on the brakes there for Northway. Side by side, still they're going. I'm wondering whether Kyle Madden's actually just waiting for these two to shunt, because he hasn't really tried to make a move on either of these two at the moment. He's getting closer than he has ever been before as they come through the big sweeping right-hander Curva Grande. It is Northway fighting to keep the lead with Pluck on his outside at the moment. Who will get the position? Pluck just slots back in behind, but Northway goes a little bit deep. Okay, there's a lot of the curb there, and that's going to open the door straight back up for Pluck, and will it open the door up for Madden as well? We'll have to wait and see. Through the first Lesmo they go. Northway's going to go around the outside now. Tries to pull off a big move through the first of Lesmos, using a bit of that camber that he's got on offer to him, but he can't quite get it done. Oh, Pluck got a little bit loose there that time as well. Northway certainly trying to get this place back and get the lead here, and one leg up over Pluck in this championship. Our cameraman having no idea which race to follow at the moment, but still side by side they go into the Ascara chicane. I feel like we're just watching replays at the moment. It's the same moves, the same corners every time. This time though, going side by side. We haven't seen that before in this race. Who's going to get the position? Oh, contact!
This is what Kyle Madden's waiting for.
Oh, here we go. They fan out wide. Northway there, just getting carted off the track by Pluck. He'll be really unhappy after that one, and it's actually Kyle Madden who's come out ahead of both of them now after that touch. So Northway will probably be spewing after that. In a moment, he's gone from first to third. And Pluck, not really any worse off, but it's Madden who's got the place now. He's got the lead.
Now we'll find out if Madden was actually consistently staying behind there waiting for a mistake, or if that was as far as he could go as far as skill. Can Madden hold on to this, or will it be Pluck challenging him and coming back down on the inside? Northway will be spewing, but the Australian needs this 100 points. That would potentially drop Seeker off that podium. First, second and third, 100 points. Only $25. Here we go on the inside. Madden, does he lose it? Oh, he does.
Super close. Pluck doing a good job there to get the place back. What's really important now is for Northway to get past Madden really quickly so he can chase down Pluck and potentially have another chance to win this race. We can already see there's a few car lengths margin between Pluck and Madden. Northway separated by only millimetres. Bumper to bumper they go into the chicane. Cleanly, can he get the job done? He used a lot of curb that last time out, and it really cost him. There we go, nice and clean. Bit of a sideways moment there out of the chicane, but he's now got Pluck back in his sight. So we're back to the status quo. Normal service has resumed, and Pluck is out in front.
That's impressive racing. You know, going through those first 3 or 4 corners around Monza, side by side, in these conditions, that's some very, very good driving by the guys out there.
Not too dissimilar from our own Toyota 86 series, really, is it?
No, it is, and they rub panels, they get close, but some of the manoeuvres that you see go on and the action out there is quite good, and it's a good breeding ground for the young drivers, particularly if they're coming out of go-karts or out of Formula Fords or Formula Firsts.
Formula Ford's out at Supercars this weekend?
Yeah, yep. So it's the first round of the New Zealand Formula Ford Championship. So we've got some good names actually. We've got obviously Greg Murphy's son Ronan, Ash Spree, who's one of those legend names in New Zealand. His son Zach's racing this weekend as well. Caleb Nato who's previously won the 86 series. So there's some big names that are coming out, and there's 15 cars, and there's, I would say, a dozen of those guys are young up-and-coming stars that we're going to see over the next 10 years work their way up through the classes.
Now, I saw Speedworks actually share a video of Pukekohe Formula Ford where Shane Van Gisbergen took it out. And what an amazing video that was of Pukekohe. You're going back 10 years ago, I think it was.
Well, that was probably the last time that Formula Ford was actually there as part of the Supercar support card, I think.
I think it was, yeah.
2007 potentially.
Yeah, and it was one of those golden moments where you look back on the class and there was 25 entries in it, and it was great. And I mean, Formula Ford's been running for 50 years around the world, so and it's starting to have a bit of a resurgence now. Ford is starting to remake the parts for the engines, so it's given the ability for those 1600 Ken engines to be used again, and it's a good breeding ground for drivers to learn some racecraft.
Lots of chassis suppliers as well, still to choose from. The Spectrum, obviously, the car of choice at the moment for a lot of guys. We see 4 of those brand new cars in New Zealand and supported by Spectrum in Australia. So we watch on board now. Wow, I was just going to note there a bit of right out sideways moments there for not only Pluck but Northway as well. So
we're getting a little bit of aquaplaning out there with the amount of water on the track by the looks of it.
And it is the last lap here at Monza, so we'll have to keep an eye on whether these guys can keep it on the island. Pluck it is who leads by half a second over Northway. Northway has to hope that something goes wrong for Pluck if he wants to win this race and win this championship, because at the moment, as it stands, he's not done enough to get one over Pluck. The margin will stay stable at about 70 odd points.
Well, you look a bit further back, 3rd and 4th. Can Madden hold off Seeker for 4th position? Because that is a championship fight in itself right there. There's a big difference in the prize money, but also you look at Madden and Seeker closing that gap up.
Yeah, he's got about half a second on him, so as long as he doesn't mess his braking up into the parabolica here and get a good run out of it, he should be fine.
Northway trying everything he can here through the final corner to get the job done on Matthew Bull Pluck, but it is the man from Christchurch who will come out on top here in race 2 at Monza. A great win, 2 in a row here in the tricky and trying conditions, ahead of Robert Northway, just 5 tenths behind. Madden will come home in admirable P3, and it is Seeker who will do 4th position ahead of Monkey Matt. We wait now and see some cars shunting across the line further behind. Prenz completes the top 6. Damien Oxide Main's going to do some mungies down the straight as well. Fade further behind. He's down on P8 at the moment. Comes across the line just ahead of Alistair Kuipers. S-Wave Crimson will round out the top 10. As John Baggs is all the way down in P11 at the moment. So Dave Stone doing a good job there to get into the top 10 and get some admirable points to help his championship challenge further down the auto. Get that wooden spoon, a few dollars in the bank.
I think it's about $25.
Box of beers.
Box of beers. It's a trip to Auckland though. You get flights, you get to come hang out at Sky City, and you get to play in the LPL
Andy's
Studios
Burger
Live
Bar.
for the championship top 8.
Buy some chips afterwards.
Every little counts.
Love Andy's Burger Bar. Fill me out.
Every week, Summer. Where do you want to go for dinner, Andy's?
I think we should go try something different next week.
Oh, there's a lot of different restaurants here in Sky City. Plug. How'd you do?
Oh, Matthew Pluck's heading off.
So let's make it official, ladies and gentlemen. Sprint Race 2, LPL Studios. It's the penultimate, I guess, round. Matthew Pluck takes it out. In first position, Christchurch, there's something in the water. Robert Northway in second position. The Australian, still doing it strong for Australia. Madsy in third position, and Seeker still there, the newcomer in fourth position, Simon.
Yeah, certainly the result probably doesn't really paint a good picture of the race. It was pretty good up until the final lap there. Monkey Matt down there in P5, Prinz. Damien Knockside main, Fade, Elsa Kuipers and SYF Crimson round out the top 10 running order. EVP, John Baggs, Info Agent and Daniel Pinkham completes the running order. 7 laps here of Autodrome Nacional Monza Grand Prix. Great circuit, great race. Hopefully we'll see a bit more drama in Imola. A few more corners to play with, a few more straights. It'll be interesting to see how these boys handle that circuit.
Definitely a bit of elevation change as well, which is always great at Imola.
For sure.
Wicked. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've had the 2 sprint races, the short races, the championship title fight heats up for the sprint race, the feature race coming up after the break. Stay tuned, we'll be back with you very shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Star Insurance Project Cars, but it's all about driven right now. That's right, you can drive a Lamborghini Huracan at Hampton Downs, potentially drive it. I may have got that one wrong the whole series. And a night for 2 at Sky City. Well, we've said it, so you're going to have to anyway. My name is Brendan White. If you are just joining us, welcome. This is the penultimate round, but this is the round of the series. $6,500 on the line tonight. We're joined by Elton Gooden from Motorsport New Zealand and Simon from Velocity. It's a good race. You must be happy with that one.
It was. It was a very, very good race. It's you throw a little bit of water into the mix and it really spices things up.
Just add water, eh?
Just add water.
How good. Yeah, it was pretty good, I thought. You know, all things considered, it was too high, I think, in that first race. So we'll have to see how they play it at Imola in a moment.
All right, talking about Imola, let's have a look at Imola. Let's have a look at the track conditions and the track. If you guys are new to it, what it is. And Simon can explain to us where Matthew Paul Pluck and Robert Northway are potentially going to make their moves in the championship, because that's who we're fighting for right now, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. It is down to just 2 men in this championship. This is Imola, site of the Italian Grand Prix and European Grand Prix a few years ago. Interesting circuit with a bit of a fabled history. Certainly one that is memorable for a lot of reasons. We'll get into that as the night goes on. But this is a circuit that obviously contrasts Monza with the long straights and the fast sweeping corners. But this is your tournament ladder now. It is Matthew Paul Pluck who leads Murphy's Law Robert Northway by 78 points. Seeker sits down there in P3, Madsy in P4, Prinz, Monkey Man in 5th and 6th. But interestingly, Simon Bishop, despite not competing tonight, I think he's had about 2 or 3 drop rounds, is still managing to sit there in P7 at the moment. There is a possibility that anyone outside of the top 10 could still knock him out. Dave Stone, John Baggs, SYF Crimson, EVP, still mathematically in with a chance. So we'll have to see how this race plays out. They'll have to do something spectacular to get those 200 points to their name. But it's not out of the question, that's for sure.
Well, 200 points. Murphy's Law, minus 78. So first and second, it's anyone's game there. Seeker, minus 350 points. So he's not quite on the championship title fight there, but he's still on the bragging rights. The little battle between Seeker and Madsy for 3rd position still could be on. Pluck could come second, so it's anyone's game. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't the final. These top 8 need to remain in this top 8 to come to the LPL studios.
It's the round robin final.
Yeah, exactly. It's the cash final. It's the guy that takes the money next week. It's the bragging
It's the
rights.
one that makes you get all the money for the casino.
Yes, that's right. Bears on them.
Andy's Burger Bar.
Well, we are going to Imola, that's right. It is qualifying time for these lads. Matthew Pluck out on track at the moment. Monkey Matt there, no laps as someone just flies straight. That's Robert Northway by the looks of it.
It'll be Tamburello corner as well.
So that won't be a flying lap for Northway. 6 minutes to qualify out there. Simon, how long's a lap take around Imola?
Enough. No, I didn't do my research. It is probably roughly about 2 minutes, I'd say, in one of these GT86 cars, the GT4 spec. We'll have to see in a moment when we get some lap times set. We're currently watching Matthew Bull Pluck. Certainly a circuit that has polarised viewership in the past, unfortunately responsible for the deaths of Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna. Following that, there were some modifications made to the circuit that certainly changed things up, but we haven't really been back. Since then, we did have Formula One use the circuit as the European Grand Prix for a brief period in around 2005, 2006. I haven't really seen it in the modern era. I know over the last couple of days we've seen a few reports about Mugello and Imola both wanting to host the Italian Grand Prix in the future, but Monza's sort of got a stranglehold on that, I believe, until about 2024.
Now, last year we did this track, and you could cut corners and you wouldn't be penalised. And back up there in those S's, we saw a lot of people cutting corners, and it was a gentleman's rule, wasn't it? So this round, you cut the corner, the game knows, right? So there's damage on, there's wear and tear on, there's corner cutting, all those things that have made this more of a realistic title fight or championship to the real thing.
For sure. So we're seeing some laps being set now. Matthew Bull Pluck goes straight to the top on a 151.774. We see one car going really wide down at the first turn there, so a bit of drama straight away. Pluck just decided to send it straight back into the pit lane. We have to wait and see what he does on his next flying lap. 2 seconds clear of the rest of the field. Robert Murphy's Law Northway yet to set a really competitive time now. He's still bogged down there on the 2:03.5.
Currently, good scores there from Damien Main in 4th position. That's probably going to change. If you see 151 by Pluck right now, Main sitting on a 154. John Baggs, all those people sitting on the bubble, EVP Kuipers, they all need to bag some fast times to get out on that pole position and hold it. Damien Knockside Main now, he is the other Australian from Brisbane. So you've got Kyle Madden and Damien Main from Brisbane. They come in every night, so they would be, I guess they'd be wagging work to actually get on the air in time.
Yeah, they would be. They'd be definitely hustling out of the shop.
A lot of these guys doing 10 to 20 hours on a minimum to practice for these races. Northway still obviously trying to do his flying lap as we speak. Right now we go there as he passes someone flying on through.
This corner here is quite tricky because you're actually braking as you're coming over the crest of the corner. So you'll see a few cars starting to get sideways through there.
Does that weightless your car? Or?
It makes the back of the car weight because all of a sudden you're trying to get on the brakes, the weight moves to the front of the car and then the back goes light, and because you're turning, you're trying to fight the car at the same time.
So Northway's down on 11th at the moment. He's tried to set 2 laps and he's come straight back into the pit lane.
He's got a penalty, that's why he obviously botched that lap up.
Yeah, whether he's got a bad delta at the moment, I'm not sure. That's, when I say delta, I don't mean Goodrum, I mean like the delta compared to the leading driver. So you have a thing where basically you can see relative to your competitors whether you're up or down on the sector splits, and he'll be able to see that. But only with 3 minutes to go, he will have just enough time to probably do one more competitive flying lap. He is bogged down there in 11th at the moment, and that will not help his championship challenge. So a little bit of drama here at Imola, the final race of the night. We are expecting it to be a dry start, but we're not sure how the conditions will change. So it looks like Northway has a good place penalty of maybe 1 or 2 positions. So he will need to get pole position if he wants to be sort of on that front first 2 rows.
He's definitely pushing it there, just seeing how sideways that car's getting coming through the corners there. So he doesn't look like he's driving in a good mood at the moment.
That certainly won't help his championship challenge. He'll be wanting to get as many points as possible and hoping that Pluck gets knocked off his throne at the moment. And Northway's gone off, so he's going to start again. I don't know that he's going to have enough time. How long have we got left to go?
1:50.
It takes 1:50 to get around the second. No, he's given up. Wow. Okay. So Northway I think he might have just... Is he disconnected?
Oh, no.
Drama here at Imola. Northway has disappeared. So that might just hand the championship challenge to Pluck unless he can get back in time for the race.
Well, we listen in our ears right now to the production crew and the judicials to see if he can actually get himself in, because Pluck right now, he's got the Australian behind him in Seeker. How does that affect the championship? Well, obviously, it gives it to Pluck potentially, but what happens to second, third?
Pluck having Super Sixes, perhaps celebrating a little bit early here, knowing that Northway has disappeared. We'll have to wait and see now. We'll get on the chat and see if Robert Northway gets involved, see what the story is. Brendan is cracking open the beers early in celebration of the result, I think.
I had $50 on Pluck, so I'm happy.
So we will wait and see now. Northway, incredibly, has not made it to the final stage of qualifying here, and he's just gone. Wow. So we're just hearing through, Ricky has handed Robert Northway a disqualification for speeding in pit lane. So he already had a penalty to his name.
You wouldn't do that on a championship title fight.
Ricky didn't hand in the penalty. So the game mechanics can basically hand out penalties as it deems. And because Robert Northway was hustling to get out of the pit lane for that start of another flying lap, he was pushing and he got another penalty. So he already had a group place penalty and he's been handed another penalty, and so he's been disqualified.
Oh, dude, you would be absolutely livid.
Will he make it for the start of the race? He's not in the session. He could be bogged down at the bottom of qualifying. Certainly.
Right, so he could still potentially make the race.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. The session's complete.
How would that be? A comeback kid from the last position, send it up the inside.
It'll give us a good race to watch.
Wow.
Incredible stuff here. If you're on the Twitch chat at home, watching on Sky Sport, get on twitch.tv, Let's Play Live, get on the chat. Feel free to send us some questions. If you've got anything, any burning questions you've got pondering away. But it is, at the moment, Matthew Bull Pluck who leads.
The Australian in the Project Cars livery right now in the GT86. 98 seconds to go for these guys. I don't think many will actually bank another lap, just those ones that are left out on track at the moment. Dave Stone sitting in 8th position right now. He is on the bubble. John Baggs is in 9th. So Dave Stone really needs to deliver at the moment. Currently he was sitting in 9th, so he's jumped up, and John Baggs was sitting in 10th position. So they've both bumped up a position in this round 7 of the championship. Where that will play out at the end of this is anyone's game. $2,500 AUD. Did that just get handed to Matthew Bull Pluck?
Well, Northway's jumped on the chat. He reckons he's going to be able to make the start of this race, and he says, nah, I like passing people. Start last makes for entertainment. So maybe he knows something that we don't. Hoping that Pluck doesn't sail away with this win. Certainly is a big margin to overcome in this last race. Northway will have to win it, and Pluck will probably have to finish 5th or lower.
So that $50 of mine isn't safe just yet.
Not quite yet. I think you cracked open the beers too quick.
It's okay. It'll be an interesting commentary on the feature race here as we go to the official results for qualifying.
It is Matthew Bull Pluck who leads the way, just 9/10 clear of Kyle Madden in P2 there. Seeker brings up the top 3. The second row will be completed by Monkey Matt. He's done a good job, a late resurgence in this series. Prenz in P5, Damien Main. Alistair, Dave Stone, Kuipers, John Baggs, Fade, and SYF Crimson round out your top 10. EVP down on 11th there, and we can see now Robert Murphy's Law Northway will line up 12th for tonight's race. Info Agent and Daniel Pinkham opting not to set a lap in the session. We will wait now to go to the grid for the final race of the night here, the final race of the round robin, the final race to decide who is going to be crowned regular season champion and earn a cool $5,000.
2.5.
Oh yeah.
Buddy, 6.5 all up AUD. Last year's winner Daniel Shields went on to drive in the Formula 1 Esports team. That is what is on the cards for the future of some of these guys. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 of them are currently competing in GT around the world. This is your grid for the feature race from Imola for Project Cars Series 3, Episode 7. 1 to go next week. Bathurst John Baggs. These are the guys on the bump, further down the field. These are the guys that really need to deliver. But the one man that needs to deliver off the start line is Robert Northway as we go racing. Matthew Bullpluck on the lead. Simon, you love doing this and you can take it away.
Here we go, Matthew Bullpluck. He's lit up those rear tyres, but look for that red car further down the field. We watch now as the cars head into the first few corners. We've had all sorts of drama here in seasons gone by, but it is Matthew Bullpluck who gets the whole shot into the Tamburello chicane. You watch now, Northway has already made a place up. He's into 13th, Info Agents down to 14th. We see Kyle Madden getting a little bit loosey-goosey there through turn 3. Northway further behind in the bright red car, you can't miss it. Already making some moves, he's up into P12 here. It is a circuit that you can certainly pass on, but it will take some time for him to make his way through now into 11th. On the cusp of the top 10, our cameraman also on the beers pretty early, unfortunately, in this race. So we see Northway go around the outside of Daniel Pinkham. He gets the job done and he's already in the top 10. So a great start there from Northway, just dispatching some of his opposition early on in this race to crack the top 10. But Pluck already out to a half-second lead over Kyle Madden. He will need Kyle Madden to pressure him if Northway wants to win this one. Northway going around the outside now of Fade, which gives him the inside for the next corner, the double apex right-hander. Great start there from Robert Northway, already making up a handful of positions.
Now, Elton, if he pulls this off, you've got to get this guy in a real car. That would be the comeback of the century.
It would be. It's coming from the back of the grid, getting a few grid penalties, and coming back from the back of the grid, even to make the top 5. Is going to be a pretty good feat, just seeing how the front of the field is starting to string out now. Just watching him in the other 2 races, he's very, very good on the brakes, which around Imola you need. You've got these changes of elevation, so being confident with the car is great. So that's going to play into his favour. And he seems to be able to hold a lot of apex speed through the corners as well. So nice fast sweeping corners, that's once again it's a key element that these guys need to do.
All right, we look at the time difference here. Pluck out in the lead, 1:59. Robert Northway 6 seconds. So it was a 5-second difference, but he's getting held up in this. Beautiful. Is it
2
John
cars
Baggs?
in 1 corner. That's a fantastic move from Robert Northway.
That wasn't really coming through, it's I'm going through.
Fantastic stuff there from Northway. So in the space of a lap, he's gone from last effectively up to P7. So that's an awesome start from Northway to crack the top 10, make some headway, and already punching well above his weight at the moment. He's trying to get through to the lead of this race. He's got to bring down a margin of 7 seconds though. You can already see the top 6 have gapped away from the rest of the field.
He's going to have to be careful he doesn't overheat his tyres though in that chase. Because we saw in that first race at Monza how quickly they heated up.
Something also to bear in mind as well, we're not sure what the weather's going to do here as we watch a replay. Sends it down the inside. That's a great move from Northway. Car on his outside. I think that was John Baggs thinking of turning in early and maybe creating a bit of drama here. Pit stop strategy, what are we, 16 laps around this circuit. Does he just hustle as hard as he can on these tyres and just root them and hope that the rain comes? Certainly blue skies there at the moment, so nothing to really worry about.
Well, you've got to take into account gas as well and how much they've given them. The guys really caught the drivers out with that earlier on in the championship, so gas and tyres. But also Robert Northway, he's pushing the limits. He's up on those curbs, so he's got to watch out for penalties as well. As Seeker's another one, sitting in 4th position. These guys are also fighting for the championship. We can't discount Monkey Matt, Seeker and Kyle Maddie from Australia. Robert Northway now coming into screen. Currently sitting 8 seconds, so that gap, Pluck is extending that gap out something chronic, 3 seconds ahead of Madden.
Yeah, and those guys are going to, once he catches up to them, they're going to defend because they're all fighting for those places now. He's at that sharp end of the field where everyone wants to be moving up because they're in that bubble zone. So these guys aren't going to sort of let them breeze past. They're going to put up every quarter they can. And
despite the fact that Northway is catching this gaggle of cars inside the top 5, Pluck is actually extending his lead now. So it was 7 seconds, it's now out to 8 between Northway and Pluck, and it'll only get bigger as Northway tries to negotiate what is essentially traffic for all he's concerned.
Yeah, but he can also use a little bit with these guys of a little bit of slipstreaming as well. A couple of the guys seem relatively close together, so he's going to come across the battle that they're having and trying to get around another battling pair, which is always a trick as well.
All right, John Baggs on screen at the moment, and I think that's Kuipers and Dave Stone behind him. So this is the battle for the bubble. This is the battle of, if John Baggs gets past,
Battle
he's out of the top 8.
Battle of the Bears, and a battle to get here to Sky City next weekend. But we're watching now Robert Northway, one of the cars, just letting him go by Damien Main, knowing perhaps that Northway has just got outright way more speed than him at the moment, and that just leaves Prenz in his way ahead of him.
Well, it's an honourable thing to do as well. If you're further down the field and you know you're not going to be in that championship title fight. Look at the lights come on now. Prenz, get out of my way, Northway says.
Oh, we've got one off the track as well. Who's that? Was that Seeker? Seeker going wide off the track, I think it was. Seeker's dropped down now to P6. He was sitting there comfortably in the top 5, but he's dropped out to P6 now. Now Northway gets a good run on Prenz. That'll hopefully get him up into P4 now. There was a good battle there for Madden and Monkey Matt unfolding up ahead of these guys. And all while that's happening, Pluck has extended his margin out to 4 seconds. So Robert Northway down the inside should get this one done nice and easily. Sure does. But there's a bit more drama behind them as Seeker again going for a big spin. So just capitulating here in this final race of the round robin. You can see there Kyle Madden looks like he's got a penalty to his name. And Monkey Matt is now on his rear bumper for P2. Monkey Matt putting in a late resurgence in this series. Late resurgence in this weekend to try and get some positions.
5-second lead there for Pluck out in front now. It doesn't look like, unless he makes a mistake, which is very uncharacteristic of him, it's going to be the battle of Madden, Monkey Madden, Northway. Northway creeping on up. He's still 4 seconds currently behind these guys, though. So it is the battle of Madden and Monkey Matt. Monkey Matt now having a look.
There's rain coming. The rain is starting to come here at Imola. It's still pretty blue skies out there, so maybe just some isolated showers, but certainly raining at the moment. But we've got a fierce battle unfolding here with Madden and Monkey Matt. Who's going to get the position into the chicane around the outside? Oh, don't go too wide though, you might get a penalty. Monkey Matt gets the place. Good job from him up into P2 now. So while they've been battling, Robert Northway has been able to sort of narrow that margin up. But I wonder now, do you take a gamble in a race like this and hope that it just stays a little bit light? And we see now Monkey Matt's gone around and Kyle Madden's made contact with him too. This is going to open up the door big time for Northway to get some places now. I reckon there might be a penalty there. We can hear the officials screaming in our ear now as we see Monkey Matt and Kyle Madden come into the pit lane. They are an early stopper in this race as the rain starts to fall. Pluck now out to an incredible 10-second lead over Robert Northway. Prenz has stayed out too. Madden, Monkey Matt, Seeker and Damien Main have all decided to come into the pit lane early to get some wet weather tyres. We watch now the replay. Monkey Matt just getting too hot on entry to the corner, spins it out, loops it around. Madden's got nowhere to go. It just clobbers into him. Maybe that was why they came into the pit lane, knowing that they might have a bit of damage. And then Northway was gifted those positions.
Interesting that the game has put a red cross right next to Madden's name as well. EVP's in a bit further up there. So all these guys are in the pits, still in the pits. You'll see them now. So Simon, will they be taking the wets?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know that it's wet enough to go onto the wet tyre at the moment. It's certainly still just light rain. If you're Northway or Pluck at the moment, I don't know whether you bother coming into the pit lane.
We've seen this before. Was it Northway stayed out?
Northway came in.
Northway came in, Pluck stayed out, was it?
Yeah, and it was
down to the wire.
Awesome battle. An absolutely awesome battle, but unfortunately Northway got a little bit loose on one of the big puddles and that sent him a little bit wide.
All right, so all these guys, could this change? They've been practicing it. Could this change and the rain stop and they be out on wets?
The fortunate thing you can do in the simulator is, oh no, Northway's gone. I was going to say, Prenz has gone past him. I was going to say that you can simulate conditions, you can simulate a race setup, but unfortunately Robert Northway's thrown away a really good opportunity here to try and catch up to Pluck and win this race. Prenz now gets past him and that margin has blown out to a mammoth 17 seconds now. So Pluck pretty much has this one in the bag, barring any mistakes. There was a comment on the Twitch chat saying, man, he makes overtaking look so easy. and he's just gone and looped it on his own. So maybe the wet weather conditions are proving to be a little bit too tricky at the moment.
Didn't go in.
No, so he stayed out as well. Pluck has stayed out too. Prinz, even after that penalty and after getting past Northway, has decided to come in. You see John Baggs and Alistair Kuiper's in as well.
18-second difference between Northway and Pluck.
That's phenomenal. I think that's the biggest margin we've seen all season. But is it worth coming into the pit lane? Now, we can see now guys down in 7th there. Kyle Madden, I think, is one of the first to have pitted, and he's a minute behind.
Yeah, I mean, those front two guys seem to be, bar the mistake he's just made, those front two guys seem to be pretty well in control. They're not,
I think,
I was going to say the cars aren't getting too sideways, but...
Put the mockers on them.
Put the mockers on them, definitely, but...
I think, would Pluck make a mistake coming into the pits right now?
I don't think so. I'd say there would be enough temperature in the track, enough temperature in the tyres, and the rain isn't heavy enough yet, I don't think. I would be holding off for another lap or so. You then hit the halfway mark, see what it's like. Obviously it's different when you're in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
It's a bit different, completely different ball game out there, because you're feeling it a lot more than what we're seeing on the screen. But no, I would be staying up for a few more laps yet.
Well, here we go. Is he going to take the pit? No, he doesn't, which I would imagine then Robert Northway won't take the pit either.
Yeah. So
17 seconds.
Yeah, looking at that rain's getting heavier and heavier now, so I would be looking at the end of this lap to be coming in.
I think if you're Northway and he's gone off now, do you maybe just say, stuff it, why not? Come into the pit lane, hopefully get the wet tyres.
He doesn't.
And see what happens. I think the only strategy that's realistically, I think, going to work is if Pluck comes into the pit lane and Northway comes out. There's no way he's going to be able to execute an effective undercut in these conditions. It's only light rain. It's not supposed to get any heavier in this. So all those guys at the moment who have gone out onto the wet tyres have really sort of kicked themselves in the proverbial, because they're gone. They're nowhere in this race at the moment.
Like you said earlier, it's definitely not full wet, and so those wet tyres will be overheating very, very quickly. If those guys have got any sense, they'll be actually trying to find the wet part of the track to keep those tyres cold.
So we're watching now Matthew Pluck, 17 seconds clear of Northway. These two are the only ones who haven't pitted, so that's why you can see Pluck is lapping cars at the moment. We're on lap 7 of 16 here. The rain in parts looking a little bit heavier. No real spray to speak of, no puddles really. Perhaps it's still pretty hot out there, but these are sort of conditions where you'd probably in a real life setting be saying, I might come into the lane. Northway has obviously proven that you can make a mistake in these conditions, but Pluck has been just cool as a cucumber.
Yeah, he's definitely been a sort of a model of consistency over these 3 races. Just keeping it nice and tidy, keeping us cool.
Oh, massive area coming through this. Well, you said it would be an honourable thing to get in the top 5. He got to second from last.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a good job. He's obviously got gifted a couple of spots.
Pluck's in the pit lane. Pluck has come into the lane, so he's decided that the weather is too tough to tame on slick tyres. Does Northway come in too? I reckon if you're Northway, you just stay out.
Yeah,
just chance you're
that's
out.
the only way you're going to win this race, is if you, like we saw in a previous race, stay out. But the question is, how fast? No.
Oh, okay.
He didn't do it.
Well, let's put our plans to bed. Northway comes into the pit lane too.
Where are they going to end up?
Oh, Northway has to negotiate.
Pluck's still in the pits.
You'll have to see how long it takes. Pluck obviously taking a bit of fuel as well, as is Northway. So everyone has come into the pit lane. I wonder whether we'll see Prenz and Madden make up some margin with an undercut of some sort. It was a pretty big gap when Pluck came in, so I'm not sure that we'll see much in the way of change at the moment. So unfortunately, no real rolling of the dice, I guess you could say, with Northway. Northway opting to come into the pit lane and just
see a little bit of spray starting to come out there as well on the track.
Lap 7 of 16 here, the feature race for Project Cars 2 Championship. This is the one where the money gets grabbed by the boys, and this is going to even it all out. That is Kyle Madden coming onto your screen now. Sitting in third position, 35 seconds. Northway, 20 seconds. Massive deficit there, 19 seconds. Closes it up, so that undercut didn't really work for these boys. They still maintain the lead, Simon.
Northway's slowing. Northway's just pulled over. What's he doing?
What is he doing?
He's just stopping all of a sudden, and he's let these guys by.
Has he disconnected? No, he's back on it.
I think Northway's decided he's got no chance of winning this race, so he's going to just back off and maybe have a bit of fun and try and catch up to these guys. Madden, Prenz and Seeker were all sort of around the same place when they all pitted. Northway was behind Madden and Monkey Matt for a moment there. Monkey Matt's all the way down to P6. So who knows? Who knows why he's decided to do that?
It doesn't affect his championship by letting them ahead. It doesn't change Pluck's result, so...
Yeah, and as it stands, Pluck will be crowned our champion unless there's something drastic happens. And I think that's an odd move by Northway, having seen some of the mistakes throughout the field.
Could he be giving one of these guys, Seeker, Prenz or Madsy, get some vital championship points? Because we've got Seeker sitting in third position, Madsy sitting in second. As far as the championship coming into this championship, that's obviously changed through race 1 and race 2. Madsy now in 4th.
Oh no, Seeker's gone. He's looped it. Oh, that's a bit of a tricky rejoin as well. Northway's going to go around the outside and he'll take that place away, but Seeker has thrown away a good chance here to get a leg up over Madsy, who's currently P2 at the moment.
Well, if he was trying to give it to Seeker, he didn't really...
Yeah, well,
as it lasted
certainly will not be a Cantabrian 1, 2, 3 the way it stands. Madsy, the one Aussie really in the competition at the moment, doing a good job to get up into P2 in this race and P3 in the title race as well. Remembering now that this is the final of the round robin, and then we bring the top 8 competitors from the championship to Sky City Theatre to compete. Is it in the theatre? Do we get an audience for that?
Oh, we are inside the LPL studios next week, so our grand final, the first grand final in the LPL studios. So you guys actually get to see it live on air next week out of here. We're actually live, and if you didn't know, we're actually live inside the Sky Tower currently.
At the bottom, right?
At the bottom.
That little glass house, if you know it. You know it.
So right next to Andy's Burger Bar, our favourite.
Great burgers.
Matthew Pluck. 20 seconds ahead right now, unstoppable unless he makes a big mistake, but very uncharacteristic for him. So 2,500 AUD looks like it's going to Christchurch tonight for Matthew Pluck.
Well, a bit more than that, in fact, because Robert Northway's going to get a bit of that cash as well.
1,500, I think it is for him.
So, Elton, esports obviously a growing market, not only in New Zealand but globally. We're seeing a lot of options, I suppose, in terms of what you can play. Project Cars 2 being the one that we're on tonight, iRacing, R-Factor, Assetto Corsa. Certainly a lot of options for young people who want to get into motor racing, even older players as well. We've seen some older competitors in last season. Alki is 50, I believe. Don't know whether that's true, but we'll have to get that verified. But yeah, it's certainly a growing market. In terms of the future for Motorsport New Zealand, how does the governing body sort of get involved? What's their sort of vision?
Well, our vision is, we want to create a national championship, a sanctioned national championship. So the winner of it will actually be crowned the Motorsport New Zealand e-racing champion. And we see this as a good place to get the guys, get the bug. And we've seen the likes of what GT Academy have done with Martinborough. You've got Brendan Hartley, who's racing. He's been racing for many years. Who's doing sim work for Ferrari, for Mercedes. He's been through the F1 seat. He's been through the Porsche stuff. So it's a good platform to complement the guys who are doing it already, but also to get the guys understanding stuff.
Northway now having that battle. Looks on the inside, on Prenz. Takes it. Prenz has got the inside line though, under the brakes. Prenz, does he close the door? Switches over now. No, doesn't manage to close the deal. Northway just sitting in behind. This is going to be an interesting little battle. Here we go, up on the inside again. No, Prenz doing quite well for him. Usually it's Northway that gets the passes. Now, Elton, that's a great point as well. You work closely, obviously you're the body for FIA, the big mothership of motorsport globally.
Yep.
And FIA have a huge interest in esports and in racing as well, so you work closely on a global prerogative, don't you?
Yeah, well, the FIA have actually set up a global working group. They actually name it the Digital Motorsport. So I sit on the Digital Motorsport working group, and just trying to come up with ways that we can bring this into mainstream. Get guys licenses so we can actually create this pathway through from the digital side into the real world, but also for the guys who are in the real world actually coming back and doing some practicing as well.
So in terms of, if you're an esports competitor, say a top line Project Cars competitor, and you want to take that next step into the real world, in terms of Motorsport New Zealand's perspective, what's the vision?
Hang on, Simon, sorry, I didn't interrupt. Northway's done it again.
He's just backed
He's
off
got
again.
all the way up to second, and now he's backed off and let all these guys pass again. What is he up to?
Well,
is he just proving that he can have fun, get all the way back up there, then all the way back?
Quite possibly.
It's that, yeah.
Is that, I'm a superior driver, I'm going to let you guys all pass, and then I'm going to come back, pass you all.
It sounds like it, doesn't it? Or it looks like it.
Plucks out to a 30-second lead. Gosh.
He could have done that twice and potentially closed the gap on Pluck, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if Pluck had made a mistake, that could have opened the door for Northway. So I'm not sure I'm going to commend him for those moves. But we were saying,
Sorry to interrupt.
going from the virtual world to the real world, if from a Motorsport New Zealand perspective, how do they do that? What do you see? Hypothetically, if Motorsport New Zealand were to create their own championship and have some prize pool that would open a door to get into like a test drive or some funding towards going into the real world sort of scene, where would we likely see that?
The common sense place would be something like the Toyota E6s, the Formula Fords, that beginner category that's a good first stepping stone when you come out of go-karts. So we see the kind of the online stuff sitting into that point there. We'd like to create a licensing profile, so as you work through your different grades of online racing,
Sure.
you get a bit higher and higher grades, and then that can help you evolve into your real race license for the real track, and how that fits in that way.
It's much like GT do now, don't you? Like, you compete in the GT and you can advance yourself over the different courses.
Yeah,
and different
iRacing's
races.
much the same. iRacing, I'm a pretty lowly ranked driver in that because I keep shunting people all the time.
Yeah, I know about that, dude.
So,
Down to go-kart track.
I'm pretty much stuck in doing Skip Barber and Mazda MX-5, so don't expect to see me out on a real racetrack anytime soon. But yeah, there's proper like algorithms and stuff that can formulate that stuff and make online racing a little bit more entertaining and have something tangible for you to work towards. Class A in iRacing takes a lot of work, and I'm nowhere near that.
Well, like you just said, Elton, the person who wins could potentially go into something like the 86 series. So, you're actually taking that. And if you're Northway, for example, it would be amazing to actually put him and see what he cuts a lap time around Pukekohe or Hampton Downs.
Absolutely, and I mean the young kid who won the Formula One Esports series in 2018 actually jumped into a car at the Race of Champions and actually bet Sebastian Vettel. Going on Sebastian Vettel's current form, that wouldn't be too hard. But beating a four-time world champion on level pegging on the same cars on the same track.
Totally. And one thing that I found fascinating, I don't know if you guys have seen, but McLaren have their own version of something like that called the world's fastest gamer, a bit like Gran Turismo, and Nissan when they did their GT Academy. And what they did is they had a big elimination thing. They did the iRacing, R Factor, all of those different disciplines, and got to the point where they had two drivers. One was actually related to Stein Schotthorst, who's an established racing driver. He did TRS a few years ago. He was the younger brother of that. But it was the other guy who ended up winning it, Rudy Van Buren. And Rudy actually got to drive a Porsche Carrera Cup car. Never driven any race car on a real world setting. and he was beating guys like Jackson Evans, you know, in Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. He was in the top 10 straight away, first time in a car like that, which is crazy to think that you can go and race a car in the virtual world and take that straight into the real world and apply the exact same theory and get the exact same result.
Yeah, and it's a big thing within the esport world. There's a governing body of esports, and it is recognised that that motorsport is one of the few skills that you can cross over between from the esport world into the real world on any of those sporting games.
Yeah, fascinating how esports is really changing the shape of motorsport globally at the moment. You talk to any of the drivers at Supercars this weekend, you ask them, do they spend more time with their missus or on the simulator? And generally they're spending a lot of time on the simulator, having a go on that, and I guess practicing for the next round. You know, I think Scott McLaughlin has just got a massive rig from SimWorks simulations, which is phenomenal, the amount of money that you can spend on equipment like that.
Well, it is, and it's keeping your hand in, it's driving. It's like doing any skill. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And you know, we're now in the day and age where we've got these simulators, and right from the PlayStation controller right through to the SimWorks, the Motion Force, the Moton systems. You know, if you want to spend 100, 150 grand, that's great, but the theory is the same, that as a driver, as a race driver, you're getting practice all the time.
Totally.
All right, it's all about, we were watching on the screen before, John Baggs. It's his one to really, he's got to do the business. It's about the top 8 right now, because Pluck, he's 32 seconds ahead. Like, Northway has just done it again. He let everyone pass while we were having this great chat about esports. He let everyone pass, and then he passed them all again. But he's 33 seconds. So right now, it's about that bubble of who's going to come through in this championship to compete at LPL. Well, John Baggs, this is the man who has to deliver it. Elton, bringing it back to a national scale, like these guys, you're talking big things over here in the international scale. Bringing it back to something for Motorsport New Zealand and what you guys are looking at doing. So this is something that we could potentially see run alongside the Speedworks, you know, the Motorsport New Zealand's national promotion, Speedworks, and the different tracks through New Zealand potentially as well.
Potentially, yeah. It's part of our vision is that we want to get it out there, and we've got these established national championships. You've got the V8s, you've got TCR coming, you've got Toyota Racing Series, you've got the Toyota 86s, you've got Formula 4, so you've got these established real world series. And D1NZ, exactly.
Yep.
So if we can, you know, create a mirror product of that online, then you know, maybe we can encourage some of these guys who actually do it in the real world actually to come and race against these guys who do it in the virtual world.
And the fans would love that, because it really does create a synergy between them. Shane Van Gisbergen and Scott McLaughlin, you know, some of these famous drifters. Darren Kelly. Darren was in here 2 weeks ago, and he was saying that one of the big things about this is right now, this is a real circuit. The curbs are real. There's over 1,000 photos of the circuit, or hundreds of thousands of photos to make this circuit up. So the muscle memory of where your braking points are, where you're switching, where you're changing gears, your subconscious is already programmed. That's why the guys that you guys are talking about jump into these cars, never driven a car before, and they absolutely decimate. So it would be fantastic to see, you know, Joe Bloggs, who doesn't have a car, be able to jump in a sim and compete against Shane Van Gisbergen or some of these guys.
Yeah, and it sort of starts to bring, like you say, that virtual world and that real world together, and actually start to create a little bit more engagement with those real drivers. And yes, you've got your gamer names and stuff like that, but you know, if you get to a grand final like we're doing next week here, you know, getting the guys here, they're actually, you know, in theory could be sitting in the seat next to the screen next to Shane or Scotty or Max Verstappen. You know, he's another one that jumps on quite regularly onto public platforms and races.
Currently watching Kyle Madden and Robert Northway. There's been a bit of a battle between these guys in the championship. Northway was coming second. He's let them all pass and he's going for it again. He's having a bit of I think he's been playing games. Was that 4 wheels off? Will that put a marker next to his name? Well, Madden's got a marker next to his name at the moment. Lap 14 of 16. This is the one where they have to deliver. It's the feature race from Amula for $6,500 AUD up for grabs. Right now it's Australia versus New Zealand. We swap on over. There we go. Robert Northway switches on down, but Madden shuts the door. Well, if you guys are into esports and you are obviously tuning in on Sky TV or on Twitch, wow, Madden gets sideways now. Then get to the racetrack. That's all I can say. I've said it many times in project cars. You can marshal, you can stand on the side, have the best seat in the house, you can volunteer yourself, or you can buy a $2,000 car and be involved with 2K Cup. Maybe a weeny bit more than that. As Northway has a look now, and Madden gives him the hello, I'm here, welcome, Australia.
Opens the shoulders there a little bit.
Nice little bump and grind. Robin's racing right off.
Absolutely. Could have a little bit of touch. So it's getting slippery up over the top here again. Dried off just previous corner there.
I was going to say, if you're Northway, you're glad you went onto those wet tyres. It's certainly been wet enough to get onto it and justify it. As we see, he gets up on the curb, getting a little bit loose there.
Can he go two side by side through
Oh,
here?
round the outside. Great move there by Northway, but he goes deep, and so does Madden, and they make contact. Oh, no, big drama. Seeker gets a hit from Madden. They manage to carry on, though, unabated. Northway gets up into P2. Seeker, P3. Prinz now up into P4. Madden has dropped down into P5. Monkey Matt trying to capitalise on Madden. Sure does. Gets up into P5 there at the chicane. So a little bit of drama here late on in the race.
Now, look, if I was Madden, I'd be a bit teased about that. Here's the Star Insurance replay. Comes on in on the inside. Now, Madden,
No
he
contact.
jumps the curb, a bit in there on the apex, and he just gets sideways, and this is Madden's fault.
Lock the rears, mate.
But the thing is Northway's dropped back, he's gone forward, he's dropped back, he's gone forward. Madden's still competing for a championship here, where Northway's just kind of played a bit.
Yeah.
So if I was Madden, I'd just, I shouldn't say this as a commentator, but I'd be like, dude, you should have just gone for pluck.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have had to battle you if you'd done that.
Yeah, and unfortunately that's kiboshed Madden, and so he's down in P6 now. He's got a lap to go. Who knows how this will affect the championship? If anything, Northway is solely responsible for how this will play out in the final stages of this championship. Madden is now down in P6. He needs to pass Monkey Matt, Prinz and Seeker, potentially to keep P3 in the championship. Seeker's now P3. We'll have to see how this all plays out in the standings.
This is the last lap, ladies and gentlemen, lap 16. Would it made of a difference or would it not have is the question, obviously, something that obviously needs to be brought up, but Kyle Madden will definitely have something to say post-race.
Podium's a podium, mate. You always want to be on the podium regardless of whether or not it's going to have implications on your championship, and Madden is now down in P6 and basically out of it.
All right, well, remember, this is tonight we're still taking into who is the overall Project Cars champion. We're still waiting till next week for that.
I think tonight is the round robin winner. So right. that's the.
So we wipe the slate clean and then we go next week again.
It's the bonus round next
right.
week. Next week.
This is it then. This is.
Well, Pluck shouldn't be far away from crossing the line now because he's 41 seconds clear, and I think he has. So Pluck has crossed the line and will be crowned Project Cars 2 ANZ champion for Season 3 here. Laps a car on the final lap as well. So Matthew Pluck, fantastic job coming through Tamburello now. He will be absolutely fizzing. $2,500 in the pocket, eh? Well done to him. So we follow the final few cars now. Kyle Madden still bogged down there in P6.
That could be $3,000 as of next weekend as well when they come to the LPL studios. Robert Northway now coming around, sitting in second.
Here he comes around the final corner, Northway. Well, I wish we could have a yarn with him at the moment. I'd love to know how he's feeling. P2 for Robert Northway. It is a Christchurch 1-2. Seeker comes home P3. Northway loops it on the finish line in standard Northway fashion, as does Prinz. Monkey Matt comes home in P4, Madden P5. So, also, I think Madden was actually P6 in the end there after those spins. So, John Baggs, well done to him. John Baggs is going to come home 7th, and he will be the last of the qualifiers to make it into the final here. He flashes the lights. He will be here for the bonus rounds next week at Sky City. And here comes Alistair Dave Stone. Kuipers down in P8 there. So, fantastic result all round.
So does that mean Kuipers sits in 9th position? And unfortunately, we will wait till the official results pop up on screen. That may not make the LPL studios next week for the Bathurst dogfight. Damien Knoxide Main, I think that'll be all she wrote for the Australian as far as he goes. We will see Kyle Madden from Australia come over to New Zealand though to compete on his Australian circuit.
That's
It's quite
good.
ironic.
Yeah.
So here it is, your results here from Imola. Started off in the dry, got progressively wet as the race went on. Matthew Pluck dominating proceedings here by 55 seconds. Sika comes home P2 in the end there. So not sure what happened with the results there. Maybe Robert Northway spinning a little bit too early there. So Northway comes home P3 in the end. Monkey Matt P4, Kyle Madden P5, Prince P6, John Baggs down 7th, Alistair Kuipers down in 8th, Damien Knoxide Main and Fade rounding out your top 10. There were a few penalties added as well. Prince got 10 seconds, so that is why he drops behind Kyle Madden. Fade down in 10th also gets a penalty of 11 seconds. EVP in 11th. SY Crimson and Info Agent rounding out the order here tonight.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, feature race delivered. The sprint race, second race delivered. The feature race delivered. And we're going to find out our official top 8 who come to the LPL studios very shortly. Stay tuned. We'll find the tournament ladder out and we'll have all the gossip right after the break. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Project Cars 2 ANZ. We're about to crown a champion, but before that, hola, that's right. They're the awesome cab rides. LPL AU, LPL NZ, just download it, Google Play or the App Store, and the first ride's on them. Obviously T's and C's, but nationwide, they're rolling out, ladies and gentlemen. But it wasn't about nationwide tonight. Well, it was a Christchurch local. We're going to find out the results in a second. But Elton, first time in the studio, what's your take?
It's been good. It's been real interesting racing. The guys have been quite tight, you know. The second race at Monza in the wet was great. Obviously Pluck shot off into the distance, but the rest of the race was good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, let's find out how this race played out. Here is this week's result for Italy. Pluck, the doctor of their house, ran an absolute clinic. 400 points taken out. Robert Murphy's Law, 344 points. And Sika taking out 332 points. Australia, fourth position. Madzi Madden, 304 points, Simon.
Monkey Matt there down in P5. Prince, Damien Main and Dave Stone rounding out the top 8 positions tonight. John Baggs down there in P10. We'll have to see how that plays out in the championship standing. Simon Bishop with those 3 did not starts to his name. Be interesting to see how it shakes up with him in the championship.
All right, here's the drum roll, ladies and gentlemen. The tournament ladder. Who's coming through to the LPL studios next week? Well, there you go.
Wow.
Dave Stone and Scythe Crimson EVP unfortunately miss out.
2 points in it between Dave Stone and John Baggs.
Wow. That is a championship title fight down to the wire. Matthew Bull Pluck 2, 2, 8, 4 and $2,500 in AUD richer. Robert Northway, second, 114 points. So it was basically a championship race and a second. Sika in 1914, 370, not quite there. The Australian, well, there was a couple of races to be won for Australia to get through, but he's still coming to New Zealand next week, Simon.
How good, though, to have a Kiwi 1, 2, 3 for the round robin, eh? I reckon the Aussies might be a little bit fired up for next week's race here at Sky City, so stay tuned for that.
Indeed. Well, Australia will be coming over. Elton, thank you. Any last parting words? You know, where do people go see more about Motorsport New Zealand or yourself?
Motorsportnewzealand.org.nz. Just Google us there, come and have a look. My phone number's in there.
There you
Give
go.
me a call.
If you want to have a chat with them. On behalf of myself, Brendan White, Simon and Elton, it's been a pleasure with you guys. $6,500 went out, but stay tuned. The same time, the same place next week, next Thursday. It's the Bathurst Dog Fight. The top 8 will be here at Sky City Sky Tower. We will see you then. For now, get to the supercars this weekend. Watch it on Sky TV. Stay safe on the roads. Bye for now.
This LPL Pro presentation was proudly brought to you by Star Insurance.